This team is, they put so much pressure on your defense, man. Start with Steph, and then the rest of those guys, man, David Lee, Klay Thompson, Harrison Barnes, even Iguodala made a tough step back after losing the ball on Shane, and we just needed to execute offensively, get enough stops, and get enough, make enough shots on the other end to keep it close.
We're going to bring y'all into our huddle.
Today's Thursday, February 13th, 2014, and you are in the Warriors Huddle with me, Bram, and with me, as always, my boy and producer, Scott.
Scott here.
Scotty, what's going on with you today, buddy?
You know, just getting some last-minute Valentine's Day plans together.
Oh, nice. That puts you a step ahead of me. I will be going last second per usual. No dinner plans, no gift. We'll see how that plays with the wife, but something tells me nobody out there is interested in our Valentine's Day's plans, man. Warriors just played one of the best games in recent memory and unfortunately lost it to LeBron James. So you know we got big things to talk about. In the Warriors update, we're going to go through the last few games, including the Miami loss and the huge 40-plus point win against Philly. And we're also going to dive into the whole Mark Jackson v. Andrew Bogut story and figure out whether this is a legit controversy or just some shit the media has drummed up to fire up its fan base and see whether or not we actually care. And then in return to WTH, in fact, our third straight segment, we're going to do an all-star version where you and I are going to drop some bets about the various contests coming up over this weekend. You ready?
I have been ready to talk about this stuff. I'm really looking forward to it, so let's do it.
Been ready. I'm just happy you didn't start with a little born ready action there. Nicely done. Before we jump in, quick show note. We are still, in fact, sponsored by Uber, my absolute favorite app. One that you can download for free for the iPhone. I'm sure you guys already know about it, but just quick take from me. This thing, download it. All you got to do is press a button on your phone once you do, and a car will come to you. You don't have to go through the drama of finding a taxi or the money to pay for it. Just stand where the hell you are, have a phone, and these guys will show up. Pretty goddamn sweet. All right, let's move on, and let's actually jump into the games, man. There's been 3 of them since the last time you and I recorded. A 122-109 loss to the Suns in Phoenix, a team I am getting so tired of losing to. A 123-80 just molly-whopping, ass-smashing win over Philadelphia at home.
Beat down session.
40 points, my God. And then last night's 111-110 loss to Miami, a game I really honestly have not gotten over yet. If you can sense some sadness in my voice, it's because I just keep picturing that goddamn LeBron James three-pointer falling through the net, but we'll get to that in a minute, I guess, huh?
Yeah, it's really, today was a depressing day because it's one of those games that everyone was watching and people who don't even tune into games want to talk about.
They want to come up and ask you about, some kind of stupid, easy opening question. Hey, that LeBron James is pretty good. Or did you watch last night's game? You feel like being like, look, the hell out of here. You didn't care when we won by 40. Do I have to hear from you now that we've lost by 1? I'm bearing the lead of where we were, though, man. The Warriors are now 31-22. Headed into the All-Star break. For point of reference, we're actually 1 game better than we were last year, so maybe that's some kind of saving grace. I'll leave that up to you. We are 8th in the West, the final playoff spot available. Only a half a game out of 6th place behind Dallas, so we're not too far out, but we're also only 1.5 games ahead of 9th place Memphis, who just keeps charging up the ranks. I really get a sense that Memphis is going to be a playoff lock, and if we're fighting for a playoff spot, it's going to be with Dallas or Phoenix or some of these other teams, maybe not Memphis, you know?
And Memphis is learning how to play even without some of its stars. Gasol was hurt for a bit.
Yeah.
Conley has now been injured for the last week.
Right.
And they're still...
Tony Allen still out too. Yeah.
Right. So, and these guys are figuring out how to get it done. So they're kind of starting to gel, and they're definitely going to become more and more of a problem for the Warriors going forward.
Right. And they've been playing with without Tayshaun Prince, who actually died, I think, last year. Now his body is still out there playing, but from what I can tell, he's got nothing left. So unfortunately, you're right. One last step back that I don't want to tell you, but I will. Mark with a C has been watching and watching closely. We have fallen out of the top 10, Scotty. We are now in 11th place in Mark with a C's power rankings. Now, doesn't factor in our amazing win over Philly, nor does it factor in the win over Miami. So they're a little illegitimate. Who knows where we actually stand? We'll have to wait a week, rather. But we're out of the top 10.
But it does factor in that Charlotte loss, which I think is what put them out of the top 10.
It might factor in the Charlotte loss. It is what it is. I think we can both agree we have no idea what the hell this guy factors in. It's possible he eats a corn dog and it knocks us down 2 spaces. So we'll have to ask Mark with a C at some point, but we won't be able to do that now. Let's jump into the games. No need to bury the lead. It's all on our minds. Let's get it out of the way. Let's go out of order, and let's talk about the Miami game. First, this is the 111-110 game that just happened last night. Now, look, I'll say it, man. This is one of the best games I've ever attended. I had a chance to go to this one. In fact, we do a draft for the season tickets, and this was my first round pick. In fact, the first pick overall. So I was fired up to go. Now, that said, I wish I could tell you, Scotty, that I'm a mature enough guy to just appreciate this game for what it was. I am not, man.
Well, it was a beautiful basketball game.
It absolutely was. It was amazingly exciting the whole way through. The Warriors came back from being down 21 points in the third, came back from being down 8 in the fourth, and yet, when I think of it, I don't think of any of that. All I think is, God fucking damn it.
I'd give LeBron James that shot any day.
All right.
I think they did completely the right thing. That was just a tremendous shot.
I really want to hear your opinion on that, but let me back us up before we get to it, all right? Because I think there's 2 plays that really deserve our attention, and they were 2 great plays by 2 great players. So before LeBron hits that bat-breaking 28-foot follow-away 3 over our best defender, he actually missed 1 of 2 free throws. The Warriors get the ball and call a timeout with, I think, 23.9 seconds left. They have the ball. There's only 23 seconds left on the shot clock. So they have the opportunity to bring it all the way down. They come out of the timeout. They give it to Steph. He beats his man immediately, gets to the rack, and gets an and one, and hits the free throw. So now they've gone up by 2 points with 14.9 seconds left. Here's my first question for you. Amazing play by Steph. When it happened, the arena goes crazy. I turn over to my wife, and I'm not happy. I say that was stupid. We should have held onto the ball and waited to the last possible second before we threw it up because I was worried about exactly what happened.
Why would you wait till the last second to make your shot attempt?
Okay.
I think that doesn't make any sense because you need to give yourself a chance to win the game even if you miss that shot. So I think I agree with you in that I think he went early. What I do, I run the clock down a little longer than that, and I give myself a chance to get an offensive rebound and then also give myself a chance to foul, let them hit some free throws, and then still call timeout. You advance it to half court.
Let me alter what I said. I guess not to the last possible second. You just make sure you get the last possible shot. Maybe you wait till 3 seconds, 2 seconds, something like that, so that if you miss, you have a shot at the offensive rebound. I hear what you're saying, but I'm surprised to hear you do agree with me that when they shot it at 14.9, it wasn't, or it was too early. They should have waited it out.
It's hard to argue since he made it and got an and one.
Yeah.
So to say that was the wrong decision, not sure you can do that.
All right.
I was surprised.
All right. Well, shit, I'll flip over just so that we can have an argument on air. Then I think it wasn't a mistake. In fact, I will contradict what I said in the arena. The other side of that ball is that we wanted Steph to take it. He went so quickly, I think, so that he could avoid the double team. You know, I think it was absolutely coming. He saw the opportunity. He attacked it and ended up with an and one. So it's hard to say anything bad about the back and forth. But I was almost getting ready to use it as a justification to take another shot at Jackson. I'm really surprised that you actually agreed with me on it. So I'm at a loss for words beyond that.
Well, I think we differ in a little bit because I don't think I'd take it down as far as you. I would have started to go with 12 seconds left.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. Well, amazing play by Steph was what it was. The ball then obviously goes back over to LeBron, and the Heat, they decide not to take a timeout at all. They asked Spoelstra about it, and he said that he thought about it, but decided to just let him go. LeBron takes it down, becomes exceptionally obvious that he's going to go for the 3. They had played the night before. They don't want to go to overtime. He takes it down to 0.1 seconds left. Didn't make the mistake that Steph did by going early and just drills a 3-pointer in in Iguodala's face. What a beautiful goddamn shot, man.
It was, and I think it was great defense by Iguodala. I don't think he did anything wrong at all. I don't think the Warriors did anything wrong in defense. This was LeBron beating the Warriors. LeBron is one of those deceptively good three-point shooters. I don't really ever like his form, but when it counts, his threes go in.
I mean, he's only shooting like 36% on the year, but it's almost like he's responding to all those claims earlier in his career that he wasn't clutch. You know, that might be 36% on the year, but I'll tell you what, when it left his hands, it felt like it had about 100% chance of going in. In fact, all those people who earlier said this guy wasn't clutch are starting to look like the people who thought that the earth was flat, you know, for years and years. Before we get too far away from the shot, here's LeBron James taking us through that final sequence.
I was going for the win the whole time. I had to redeem myself for leaving the game open with missing that free throw. And, Steph Curry came down, got an and one, and Spo told us to go. I was able to get the ball, and I was going for the win. We was either going into All-Star with a huge road win or we was going to go in with a loss.
What maybe surprised me most about LeBron in this game was how badly he wanted the victory. He had a level of intensity and fire that's normally reserved for a playoff game.
Yeah.
And I'm going to blame that on you, Bram.
Oh, I appreciate that. Sweet. Why?
I'm going to blame that on you and the rest of the Oracle crowd when this is a case of having a great crowd and it backfires. You had an atmosphere that was so intense and euphoric and going ups and downs and everyone cheering that it got LeBron fired up.
Yeah.
You woke the dragon.
We also beat him. I mean, they beat him in Miami, so you figure he was coming for blood here. But you're not wrong. I mean, I'll tell you what. During the back end of the game, in fact, I taped some segments of it because it got so goddamn loud. I busted out my phone and recorded it. Maybe we'll have a chance to play them later on today. But I was thinking, man, this is so crazy loud. This is phenomenal. And then you watch a team like Miami and the composure that they have after winning back-to-back championships, and you realize, one, this noise doesn't affect them. It's not, those chants of defense or screaming at the free throw line is not breaking their concentration. Two, far from affecting them, what it does is inject energy into this game that was already intense, and really that energy can go one of two ways. It doesn't necessarily help us. So I think, you're not necessarily completely off on that, man, which is a little bit frustrating.
I don't think I'm off at all, actually. I think I'm completely on.
Well, I think you're a little bit off because all of his intensity didn't just come from the crowd. I think this game meant a lot to him because the Warriors have beaten him twice at home. And so they came in here to teach him a lesson. Also, it was the last game before the All-Star break, so it meant something for him there. And finally, the Warriors are considered a good team. It wasn't just playing in front of their fans. They wanted a huge road win to send them going on to the New Orleans. But I do think that we probably added a little bit of intensity. Let me ask you this. Here's the other possibility. LeBron's got the ball. We've now heard him say, I'm going for the win. I didn't want to go to overtime. We played hard the night before. I was definitely shooting the three. With that in mind, and knowing that they didn't want to go to overtime, should Jackson have considered fouling him?
Sure, you can consider it, but you should conclude no, because...
That was cute.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Learn how to phrase the question.
That's really nice.
I think that you never foul in that situation. I never agree with that decision to potentially foul. If you can't play defense for 13 seconds, then why would you ever want to potentially go to overtime against a team and play them for 5 minutes?
I'll take both of those in turn. Let's see. One, playing great defense. I don't know if we included in that last quote. I don't think we did. LeBron says on a few occasions, I agree with him, great offense always beats great defense. That he said it a few times before. I'm inclined to believe that he's right.
I disagreed entirely.
No, fair enough. Well, I guess we'll both have to defer to LeBron James, the greatest basketball player on earth. And according to him, that's exactly what happens. If you foul, you then put the power dynamic on the other foot. It'll be our great offense versus their great defense. Secondly, the idea of whether or not you want to play them for 5 minutes in the overtime. Generally speaking, I wouldn't want to do that. You're right. The difference being is that they played a real tough game against Phoenix the night before. There's a reason why Miami didn't want overtime. There's a reason why they shot the three instead of going for it too, is because they were exhausted. If we could have stretched this out, having not played the night before, there's a certain advantage to us. And if we foul, worst case, he makes them both. We have a shot to win it. Great offense versus great defense. And if we don't, we take an exhausted team who played the night before into 5 minutes at a home court that's going to energize us.
If you foul, you also risk the chance of fouling a three-point shooter and having the person get three free throws.
You'd have to foul immediately on the way up. You'd foul like right when they had it there. You notice how fired up the whole learn how to ask a question thing got me, man? I really appreciate the spur there.
Well, I think that I have seen situations where people foul a shooter and they try to do it right away, but the guy gets the shot up and the ref bails him out. So I've seen that. And most teams also shoot under 50%. So you have a 50-50 chance, or less than 50-50 chance for that goes in or doesn't. And I would bet probably most teams shoot way less than 50% in game-winning situations. So the statistics are on your side that this guy's going to miss.
The math completely confused me. I don't think I understood a single thing that you just said. I couldn't follow it through. It's me, not you, but I will say, after me blustering on that whole other part, I agree with you ultimately on this. What finally happened was LeBron James, a great player, made it a great shot. He added to his growing legacy and list of incredible accomplishments. If you can boil down an opportunity to beat the two-time defending champions to a single last-minute shot from 28 feet out, off balance with your best defender's hand in the guy's face, you can't ask for a better opportunity than that. I wouldn't have fouled either. But, with the benefit of hindsight and looking back that he made the shot, if I could go back in time now, I would say, oh, the goddamn right we got to foul him. But, if I'm handling it real time as Mark Jackson was, of course you got to make that call. There is no other possible analysis, right?
Yeah, I'm happy that you agree with me.
There's a first for everything, man. All right, a couple of other upsides, and then let's get the hell out of this game. It's making me sad even just reliving it. One, amazing playoff atmosphere. Oracle was crazy. They brought us to a lull a couple times. When Miami was up 21, people were sitting on their hands, and rightfully so. But in the end, people stood the final 8 minutes, I want to say. The defense chants were going big. The noise was going big. We've already said that might not help us.
Yeah, didn't we just cover all this? Yeah, why are you bringing this up now?
I'm just covering the fact that the atmosphere was, in fact, amazing. Who it helped, apparently we've already gone through, but I can't imagine another regular season game in any other city feeling like it did last night. So props, yet again, to Oracle Arena fan. Unless you are somehow trying to tell the fans to stop rooting for the team, which I don't understand at all, I stand by the effort that they ultimately gave.
What other worthless takes do you want to give on this game?
I mean, what worthless takes? I'm praising the team. Apparently, you are convincing the best fan base on earth to stop rooting for their team because other teams can somehow get some motivation from it. Do I have that right?
Just Miami.
Okay. Well, so during Miami games, what should happen?
Well, it'd be awesome if people were quiet.
Just no cheering. That's what you'd like. A silent arena against Miami.
I would love for people to be silent at a free throw because I think that would be so interesting to see a player react who's so used to having so much noise and just white noise going on that to have nothing going on would be awesome. That's what a smart crowd would do. Fair
enough, but let's go back to the point you've already made, that they got fired up about the defense chants and other things. When Miami has the ball or the Warriors have the ball, should we be silent?
No.
Okay, well then what the hell are you talking about?
Talk amongst yourselves.
Oh, I'm just going to let you drown in that take on your own. The other positivity I'll throw out there is that Klay Thompson seems to be shooting his way out of a slump. He had 17 last night, looked okay in the process, wasn't totally out of it, so I was happy to see it. Here's my random question for this game. Nothing to do with crowd noise, luckily enough. We're sitting next to a brand new stranger, or the person we're normally sitting next to must have sold their seats. I say something to him early on. I forget what it was. LeBron looks good, something like that. Then I'm trapped talking to him. He's constantly making little takes, nudging me for a high five. Suddenly I've broken the barrier and I have to speak to him left and right. And this shit happens to me in other situations too. Sitting on a plane, sitting at a bar, sitting at a cafe or something. So I want to figure something out between you and I right now. There's got to be a signal or something that we can give strangers where you say something to them, but you let them know, look, this is a one-time thing. We're not friends. I don't want to discuss anything with you. I mean, is there a buzzword? If I say coconut at the end of the sentence, can that just be, look, one time, don't talk to me anymore?
I think it starts with you just not opening your mouth, which I think we all know from listening to this podcast.
Come on.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So, yes, I guess we do need to figure out some type of code word. I don't quite know what that is.
Well, think on that for me, man. I'd love your advice on it.
How early in the game was that?
First quarter. I mean, like the second shot of the game or something. I was like, oh, isn't LeBron good? And it just broke the seal. I'm just hearing from, he was with his son and he spent more time talking to me.
See, that's your problem right there. You need to identify who else he is there with. And if he's there with his son, then of course he's going to keep turning to you.
No, that's fair.
Yeah, you don't need code words. You just need to pick your spot.
I'm going to come up with something like a hand signal, something that says, I'm only talking to you once. Maybe I'll just give him the finger, just one finger up there. This is a one-time thing. Anyways, I did get trapped in that. Enough about my social problems or the loss to Miami. Let's move on. Let's go back in time. Let's go over to the Phoenix loss. This was an important game. At the time, they were only a half game ahead of Phoenix. We are no longer ahead of them now. In fact, we are percentage points behind them. Also, Phoenix is a surprising West playoff team, and they didn't have Eric Bledsoe. So it was an opportunity for us to beat them. Naturally, we lost 122-109. Now, some of the excuses, we were shorthanded. No D. Lee, no Bogut. And so Jermaine O'Neal and Draymond got the start. But this was a tough loss, man.
It is, because I just can't wrap my head around Phoenix being a good team.
Okay, exactly what I was going to say. I mean, at some point we have to accept them as a good team, right? I mean,
the same thing's happening with Dallas.
Yeah, right.
How are these people winning games?
Hell yes, you're exactly right.
I look at the Warriors; they are so much better than these teams. Yet somehow, I don't pay attention to what's going on in Dallas. I don't pay attention to what's going on in Phoenix.
But
I
you
just
look at the standings.
Yes, and I keep wondering, are they other teams just cheating at this point? What is the deal?
Yep. No, I absolutely don't understand it either. It'd be like if I went outside and watched a cow fly. Like, I'm looking at it. I see it. There it is. It's happening. But I still wouldn't believe it. I'd be looking for the strings or something. I don't know what the hell is going on. I don't know if we deserve or if Hornacek deserves Coach of the Year. But, they've beaten us and they've beat us a few times. The real story in this one was twofold. One, without our big man, we couldn't get any rebounds. But even worse than that, Goran Dragic. That guy murdered us.
Wow. A scorned non-All-Star. it never want to play against them this close to the All-Star break. When you get a guy who's that close to making the team and it becomes that close to All-Star weekend, that's dangerous.
It's a series of FU games. I will prove to the league that you screwed me. This was certainly one of them. He ended up with a career high 34 points. Felt like he didn't miss a shot at all. Just at no point whatsoever. And in fact, unfortunately, deserves our quote of the game. Here's FU Goran Dragic.
Yeah, my son, his first game. So, I was a little bit hyped. Tried to show him what his daddy can do. But, it was a fun game, really.
Let's go ahead and add most hateable voice to most hateable face on this team. I should just respect what he's been putting together and that he apparently was happy to do this in front of his son, but that quote did nothing but make me angry.
It didn't do that to me, but that's just a guy who's had a great game, who's really happy. In front of his son, the first time you're in front of your son. Now, the son's not going to, babies at that age, they can't even see a foot in front of them. So I don't know why he thinks his son's watching the game.
It's a fair take. Let me ask you this one. Do you think he's an all-star? Here are the guards from the West. Curry, Harden, Lillard, Parker, Paul. Would you take any of those out to put him in?
No, he's not an all-star given the stiff competition that he's up against.
Yeah.
You put him on the East, he's got a better argument, yeah.
Would you take him over John Wall?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, no
way.
Even contracts considered, doesn't matter. You're still with Wall.
Yeah, I'm still with Wall. Dragic is not like Phoenix. I don't think Dragic is going to last as somebody who's good.
Right. The really bitter take for me comes that someone has to score on every team. Bledsoe goes down. This is a high-octane offense in that they move the ball quickly, not that they're talented. And because of that, they're funneling all these points through this player, and that doesn't necessarily justify his all-star status. But after beating the hell out of the Warriors, it's kind of hard to continue to justify that,
Yeah, and Dragic is a guy who hasn't shown up on many scouting reports yet. He's just establishing himself.
That's a good point.
And so, like you saw with Jeremy Lin almost, once people key into him and start to develop a focus on him, he's going to have a lot of trouble scoring like this.
No, that makes sense. Once there's actual game plans scheduled specifically for him, we're not going to see the success. Fair enough. Last thing I wanted to throw out on this one, I mentioned it in Miami. It was true for this one too. Klay is coming around. He also had 17 points in this game. He didn't show the same kind of frustration or forced shots that we've seen in the last few. So maybe the light at the end of this tunnel is quickly coming up. Yeah.
What I think has helped Klay become better in these last couple of games is he's not taking awkward fadeaway shots or shots where he's fading to the left or the right. Not necessarily like a fadeaway shot, but
off-balance shots.
Off-balance shots.
Yeah.
And I think he'd been doing a lot of that recently. I also think he's using his pump fake on the three and taking a couple dribbles in and getting a mid-range jumper.
Yep.
So I think that's what's leading to his success.
Well, hopefully he listens to this podcast and continues those exact steps, because God knows we need him to become the type of team I think we all hope the Warriors will become. All right, let's move on to our last game, and certainly the most fun to talk about. 123-80 win over Philly at home, the definition of a mollywhopping. This is a needed one. They dropped the last few winnable home games, and this was about as winnable as they get. Philadelphia just lost by 45 points the night before to the Clippers.
Has a team ever gotten blown out 2 games in a row by 40 or more points? That's got to be a new record.
I feel like on the drive home, this was another game I went to. Incidentally, I'm 0 for 50 now with thanking Joe Lacob and him saying absolutely nothing back.
I was wondering actually where that's.
Yeah, it's getting a little embarrassing. It's certainly embarrassing for my wife. She kind of pinches me every time I do it. But anyways, back to the Philly point. I feel like on the drive home they were saying that some other team had lost by more, some team I had no
But twice in a
interest
row?
in. Yeah, that the combined deficit over 2 games was, I don't know, 89, some number that was a little bit higher. Either way, what a terrible, terrible sequence of 2 games for Philadelphia. And this was the Mo Speights game. He was playing against a team that drafted him, must have meant a little bit more to him, but that couldn't have been the only motivation. This is a guy who was averaging 5.6 points, ended up with a career-high 32, hit 12 of 15, 8 boards, 3 blocks, in only 26 minutes off the block. 26 minutes off the bench. This guy was killing it.
He was in the zone, man. Yeah. And I think watching a guy in the zone, I think that's my favorite thing to watch in sports.
I think so too. This one had an even stranger feel to it, like watching a miracle unfold that felt like a unicorn storm the court and a rainbow. I mean, it was fun to watch, but I have no idea where the hell it came from. And it escalated into like one of those kind of tongue-in-cheek cheering situations. Every time he got the ball, the crowd stood up. When he started going to the free throw line, he started throwing out the MVP chant.
Yeah, what's up with that? Because Oracle, you praise them as a really smart crowd. To cheer for Mo Speights as your MVP.
It was an ironic chant. I also engaged in the MVP chant.
I think it was a dumb chant. It showed that Oracle fans are not quite as smart as we
you
all
want
think.
us to be silent, so nobody's going to take your stupid opinion. It's obviously completely wrong, and I totally back the MVP chant. I do want to hear from Mo Speights, though. Here's Mo Speights talking about his performance that night.
Yeah, you were finishing around the basket very well. You were knocking down the shots very well. You were rebounding well. It just seemed like tonight was the night where everything that you have in your arsenal was going.
Yeah, because the last couple of games I ain't really been playing or really getting minutes how I've been getting minutes. So I just been in practice, just going hard, making sure I stay on top of my game and get ready for whatever coach throw at me.
The crossover on the right wing, Mo?
Oh, yeah.
Pulled that one out on him?
Yeah, I had to. I had everything going, so I had to do that.
I really like Tolbert. In case you didn't recognize his voice, that was Tom Tolbert just doing the the color on the play-by-play on the radio announcement. Let me shoot one more voice on Mo Speights' performance for you. Here's Steph Curry on Mo.
Big time win. I mean, honestly, it's a game you're supposed to take care of at home, and so to have a performance like that and dominate the game from start to finish, have guys like you said, Mo stepping up, coming in, career night, making an impact, not just scoring but rebounding basketball as well. We put together a pretty much complete game with lack of a few turnovers, just getting a little careless, but good, solid performance all the way around.
Could you have beaten him in a shooting contest?
For sure. Never doubt that. But he definitely put the ball in the basket, made plays from start to finish. So
I love Steph's confidence. I love that even on Mo Speights' day, he wouldn't give him a little bit of a bone. Like even a joking, oh yeah, he might be able to beat me. For sure, I can beat him. Never doubt that.
I think it's good because a guy like Mo Speights can let this performance go to his head for the rest of his career.
Immediately, you're
He's like, well, there
right.
was that one game where I had 32, so that means I get to take this shot.
He was doing that a little bit in Miami, and I think that you're not the only person who was concerned about that. Mo Speights had 20 points before the half. I mean, he was the hottest player by far. He did not come back in the game until like maybe 2-3 minutes left in the third quarter. So Mark Jackson watched all of that and thought to himself, nope, I still do not believe in whatever the hell it is that you are bringing to this team.
Now, I was reading something that they brought up an interesting fact about Mo Speights and whether or not he's been playing too much out of position this season at the power forward spot instead of the center spot.
Yeah.
And this guy pointed out the stats of Mo Speights in the last 10 games where he's basically been playing completely at the center position. He's averaged 21 points and 12 rebounds per 36 minutes while shooting 50% from the field and over 90% from the line.
What happens if we take out that last game, though? Those numbers, I go down to like 2 points per 36 minutes? I mean,
I just think it's interesting because Mo Speights can be a very effective stretch five, sure. I think, if he gets put with the right lineup. And I'm not sure he's really gotten the right lineup from Jackson this season.
Yeah,
he's had to play a lot of power forward, and even times where he's playing the center position, David Lee's in the game who kind of takes over that stretch position.
Right. No, I think that's a fair take. I mean, the thing I'd be concerned with would be defensively. Bogut adds so much, but you hedged it with putting him in the right lineup. I'm assuming you mean he comes off the bench. In that instance, if you're going just for offense, wouldn't be a bad idea to put him out there. That also reminds me, I don't think we mentioned it, we should now. Bogut did not play in the Miami game. In fact, he has not played for a few because of a bruised shoulder. They lost by 1 to Miami. Does their best defensive player make that difference? Maybe, probably, who knows? I'm glad we got the opportunity to say that here. A couple last takes on Philly for me. Again, another game I went to. They have this new thing now. In fact, let me back that up. The person sitting behind us was one of the fans we've identified. It was the way too fired up for free shit guy. They have this new thing at the Coliseum where if the opposing team shoots less than 75% from the free throw line, at the end of the game, you get free chicken nuggets. I think they're from McDonald's. I don't know. Who cares? But the guy behind me, every single time they missed a shot from Philadelphia, he went, chicken nuggets! He got hella fired up. And every time it happened, I smiled. And I swear to you, from here on out, every single time someone misses a free throw, all I hear in my head is chicken nuggets. So good for you, chicken nuggets guy. I wanted to just give him here's $2, go buy yourself some chicken nuggets and settle down, but he still deserves some praise during the podcast here.
If it's McDonald's chicken nuggets, that might be worth getting fired up for.
No, they are hell of good.
But what he should do is be silent at the free throw.
Well, obviously, just to psych out the player, because they'd never seen it. Here's the last thing I want to run by. We got to this game a little bit late. There was 2 people sitting in our seats. We've been having these seats now for, I think, 5 years, season tickets. So I'm not guessing. I know they're in my seats, and we had this huge back and forth. They don't believe me. They're looking at their ticket. They think they're right. They're arguing with me. Here's my suggestion to you. This dude should have to put something on it, though. He's sitting here explaining to me why I cannot sit down in seats I've paid for the last 5 years. He has a right to do that, but if he is wrong, I want him to have to pony up. Buy me a beer. Get me a hamburger. Give me something.
I mean, you are truly like Hammurabi tonight, just wanting to institute your different laws and codes upon a society which you just don't feel comfortable in.
No idea who that is. Just no idea who that is. Just answer the question instead.
I think that the guy losing face and being wrong, to me, is always enough to justify it. And I love watching that person just wilt, as you are completely right. You both bust out your tickets. He clearly realizes he's wrong, and then tries to do something to save face.
No, that's fair. He had to do the walk of shame. He had to walk up, past my belly touch usher, and then disappear, into the bowels of the arena. So.
Well, that's the other thing too. Normally you do have the usher there at that point, which I think adds some extra enjoyment to the situation.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. I mean, bottom line is this guy tried to steal my chicken nuggets experience. I'm not going to sit somewhere else. I had this brilliant dude sitting behind me. All right, enough about Philly. Let's use that game as a springboard to talk about our final Warriors issue, that being the seeming feud between Mark Jackson and Andrew Bogut. Here's what's been going on, man. As we know, Bogut has missed a few games because of a bone bruise on his shoulder. And right before the Philly game, Jackson had this to say, quote, "As far as I know, it wasn't on the court. It wasn't in practice. It wasn't in a game. I'm not really sure. It may have been sleeping." And I say that in all seriousness when he was talking about where Bogut sustained the injury. Now, I guess that came off as him questioning whether or not there was a real injury or whether or not we should believe that Bogut is in serious pain. That's, in fact, exactly as Bogut took it, because here's what Bogut said in response. Quote, "I just wanted to address that the sleeping comment is absolutely ridiculous. I don't know where it came from. I don't know if I should read between the lines with it. The frustrating thing is, I don't know when I heard it against Utah. I just know after the game it was a little sore and it hasn't gotten any better." Now, unfortunately, it didn't just end there. Jackson, talking after the Philadelphia game, had this to say before he said one other thing about the Warriors' performance.
Well, before I get to Mo, I just want to address something from this earlier. I made a statement about Andrew Bogut. My statement said legitimate. My statement said I had the same thing. My statement said he was hurt. Please don't twist my words. And let me let you understand this also. You will never see a problem in my locker room. You will not see a problem in my locker room with my group. We are tied together. We are committed. This is not the old culture. This is a new culture. Thank you.
Let me first just say, we just read the statement. Maybe there's a longer one. Maybe I didn't pull the right one. I don't see the word legitimate in here at any point.
No, I did not hear that in there. Like you said, maybe there's something greater out there. I think the media just took this and ran with it. It became a firestorm.
Yeah, what do you think? Is this real? Is it even worth discussing? Where does this fall?
Well, in a blowout win like this, there's not really much else to talk about.
Yeah.
So I think that's one reason why the media jumped all over this and people jumped over it on social media, because it was some drama in the midst of a really boring blowout win. I also think we now know why the Warriors have a don't talk about injuries to the media policy, because it results in stuff like this.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. I don't think it was a big deal. I do think that Jackson handled it poorly. Not the original statement. That seemed to kind of be off the cuff, and he was being legitimate about it. He didn't know where the hell the injury happened. But that take at the end, let me also add, there will never be a problem in my locker room. I don't feel like you should ever lead with that. At this stage, they weren't necessarily suggesting there was a problem in the locker room as much as they were just questioning whether or not he had an injury. And the second you answer to a charge before it's been made, it suddenly becomes a little bit more real. If right now I looked at you and I said, Scott, I didn't steal your wallet, first thing you're going to do is check your pants. Like, what the hell are you? Why would you even say that?
Yeah, we haven't even been talking about that.
Yeah, so like, wait, you must be getting defensive. So the way that he handled it, maybe it just takes a little bit more of a seasoned veteran approach, but that wasn't that good.
I think you're right, because he should have just come out and said, look, I made this off-the-cuff remark. It was a joke.
Yeah.
I apologize. It was a dumb thing to say.
Right.
But Jackson has a real problem admitting he was ever wrong.
No, you're right. Something that I can immediately associate with. He should try the phrase, go F yourself. It seemingly works for me. But you're 100% right. When they came back to him, instead of justifying his first comments, instead of going back, well, I used the word legitimate, I used the word serious, make a new one. Look, I said it wrong. I'm sorry. Of course we're worried about him. Of course I believe that he's legitimate. And next issue, let's get on to the Mo Speights game,
And I think, though, and what I'm hoping happens, actually, is the media took this, and I think probably are taking both of them out of context, and that could end up working to the advantage of the Warriors in the sense that Jackson and Bogut are back there in the locker room, almost get to start to laugh at how ridiculous of a situation the media has turned this into.
Builds camaraderie.
It builds camaraderie. All of a sudden, I grew up with a sister. Oftentimes we'd get into a fight, and our mom then would come down like really hard on one or the other. And she came down so hard that I actually would then be on the side of my sister all of a sudden, who I was fighting with. And all of a sudden it was me and my sister against my mom. And we had a bond, and things were good again.
No, I definitely like that. And you mentioned a while back when we were talking about Mark Jackson's comments that Steph was not LeBron, or he wasn't Kevin Durant, and you mentioned that sometimes coaches like to use the media or other ways to motivate their players. This would be a weird way to do it, but maybe he's just trying to fire up Andrew Bogut for the second half of the season. I guess we'll find out. I certainly don't think that there's a real problem, but it was worth our attention. All right. Let's move on. WTH, where this week, inspired by the upcoming All-Star game, we're going to try to figure out what the hell, or who the hell, rather, is going to win these various, generally speaking, worthless but at least entertaining contests. We got games all the way through Saturday and Sunday. Here's my suggestion to you. Now, the state of California, in its infinite wisdom, does not allow us to bet dollars. So I say we call them beans. I also say that we bet 50 beans on who can pick the most winners out of all these various contests. You in?
Yeah, this will keep me entertained on what I always feel is a worthless All-Star weekend. I hate all of these events. I hate the All-Star game.
Overproduced, if I remember.
Yes.
If I remember correctly, which I still don't understand.
I think I said only the 3-point contest was overproduced.
Too many cameras, whatever it was. I love that you said it. Let's jump in. Let's start Friday night. The only thing we care about Friday night is the Rising Stars game, the brand new name for the sophomore versus rookies, although they no longer do that, I guess. They had 2 people pick teams. 2 people this time are Chris Webber and Grant Hill. Here are the 2 teams. One of us will get to pick one or the other. Team Grant Hill is Damian Lillard, Bradley Beal, Andre Drummond, bunch of Detroit, Washington people for you there, buddy. Harrison Barnes, Terrence Jones, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jonas Valanciunas, Deion Waiters, and Miles Plumlee. Let me pause and congratulate myself for being able to pronounce both of those names. So that was awesome. Now we move on to Team Chris Webber, led by Anthony Davis, Michael Carter-Williams, Tim Hardaway Jr., Trey Burke, Jared Sullinger, Mason Plumlee, Victor Oladipo, Steven Adams, and Kelly Olynyk, whose name I could not pronounce. This seems like an easy one for me, but I'll let you have first pick, man. Who do you want?
I'll choose that first roster with the Harrison Barnes and Damian Lillard. They're going to smash these dudes.
Can I take back the whole you go first thing? Or I guess that ship has already sailed. All right, fair enough. You've got Team Hill. Let me write that down. I'll take Team Weber, and I'll also take first selection in this next one. Okay, on Saturday, we're going to start up a skills team challenge. Now, this used to be just the just a single player. And now it appears to be a team situation, which I honestly don't understand entirely. I'm not sure why they're doing this in a team setting.
They made the whole All-Star weekend, all the events are team stuff. Even the dunk contest is now, it's an Eastern versus Western Conference.
I don't like change in general. I certainly don't like it as far as this specific topic, but is what it is. What are we going to do? Here are the various teams. We got Team Antetokounmpo and DeMar DeRozan.
Which is the most hilarious team ever.
I mean, what? How would they have any chance? Then Trey Burke and Damian Lillard. Then Michael Carter-Williams and Victor Oladipo. And finally, Dragic and Reggie Jackson. The favorites to win this are Burke and Lillard. They're plus 150. So if you bet 100, you'd win 150. I'm going to go outside of the favorite. I'm going to take Team Dragic.
Oh, my God.
Jackson.
I was going to choose that.
Oh, I love them. I love that it's Reggie Jackson. I love that it's Dragic. I'm going to call them the team chip on their shoulder. And just for point of reference, they're plus 200, basic 2-1.
I'm going to go with Michael Carter-Williams. And that team, rookies trying to prove themselves. This is kind of their only main event, so
I like it. I'll call them team doesn't have a shot. They are also 3-1 favorites. They are 325. All right, now we go on to the dunk contest, something I've always loved despite their overproduction. I mean, they just got to get their hands on that. Before we pick a winner, do you want to try your hand at explaining what the hell these new rules are?
So there's basically 2 rounds of this year's dunk contest, and the dunkers have been divided between the Eastern and Western Conference, and the first round is called the freestyle round. Each team just gets 90 seconds to go off and do as many dunks as they want. So,
which always sucks. I hate when they do that.
Well, this could be interesting because it'll be one guy after another. It's going to be like rapid fire. All the East guys are out there on the court at one time, and then they're just like firing dunks one after another. Then the judges will choose East versus West, who wins that one.
Kind of a weird change. All right.
Yeah, it's weird. And then basically the next round is what they're calling the battle round. And so an Eastern Conference dunker will go up against a Western Conference dunker. The judges will choose the winner. Loser gets eliminated. And then it's whatever conference wins 3 of those head-to-head battles becomes the team winner.
This is more complicated than the stats you gave us earlier.
It is complicated, but hopefully it, I think, could result in a more exciting dunk contest, actually. And let me just finish by saying...
Something tells me I'm going to be calling you at some point asking you to explain this to me. You know, I mean, like as we're watching it, but go ahead.
The final thing is there will be a dunker of the night or a champion that's chosen by the fans through social media.
I never like that. I always think that's a mistake. But with that in tow, let's pick our champion. You've got the first pick. Here is the field. Ben McLemore, Damian Lillard, who is in all of these contests, by the way. Oakland, baby. Harrison Barnes, John Wall, Paul George, and your champion from last year, T-Dot, Terrence Ross. Who do you got?
Now, are we picking the dunker of the night or are we picking the team?
Let's pick dunker of the night.
Because that's a fan thing.
You have to factor that in.
Yeah, but you're going to be on social media all night voting for whoever you pick.
Yes, I will.
I'm going to pick the Eastern Conference.
Okay, and then give me a specific player as well.
Paul George.
All right, so that leaves me with the Western Conference, and I'm going to take Harrison Barnes, baby, Black Falcon. You already know that I think this is going to boost his confidence. Now I think it's going to boost my pocket, just so that we have a full view. Paul George is plus 550, so 5-1 underdog. While Paul George, Harrison Barnes is plus 550, 5-1 underdog. While Paul George is plus 150, a super heavy favorite. You screwed me there, Scotty. Nicely played.
I choose him right. I'm smart when there's beans on the line.
Apparently, man, you are bean conscious. All right, now we move over to the 3-point shootout. I hope and trust this one plays the way it always has.
I think so.
No stupid team ridiculousness. Okay, here's our field, and I guess I will get first pick. It's Aaron Aflalo, Bradley Beal, Damian Lillard, Joe Johnson, Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving, Marco Bellinelli, our boy Stephen Curry. Steph Curry is the favorite. He's at plus 225, and that's what I'm going to take. Steph Curry.
I'm going to go with my Washington Wizard, Bradley Beal.
Oh, and I forgot to write down, so I got Harrison Barnes as well, and you got Paul George. All right, last one to pick. This is the actual game. East versus West. I'm sure you already know the rosters, so I will not read them out. Who do you got?
I think it's your pick.
Didn't I pick
no, that's right. Well, then I'll pick West. Woo.
I will also pick West. Is that possible? No, that's nicely played. All right, Scotty's got the West. I'll take the East. Keep track of this, and we'll have to pay out, I guess, next week, huh?
Sounds good.
All right. Quick housekeeping before we get the hell out of here. A couple of things. Last week we argued about whether or not a good coach should also be a good motivator. And the example we used is the idea that when they played teams, the Warriors played down. When they played good teams, the Warriors played up. You thought that coaching should not be motivation. I thought that it should. I just wanted to point out, housekeeping-wise, that two people agree with me. One, Mr. Joe Lacob. I don't know if you've heard of him. He happens to own the team. He just had an interview with Tim Kawakami and had this back and forth. Question, are you happy with the job Mark Jackson and his staff is doing? Lacob's answer, I do think our coach has done a good job. We have some big wins, a lot of wins on the road, and that's usually a sign of good coaching. But some things are a little disturbing. The lack of being up for some of these games at home, and that's a concern for me.
Well, again, you've taken my words and twisted them. Just like, I feel like I'm Mark Jackson now having to defend myself. I never said that a coach shouldn't be a motivator. That's ridiculous. Of course a coach should be a motivator. I just think that players, ultimately, it comes down to them and their ability to motivate themselves. And I would never pin a lack of effort on a coach. That is always on the player.
I think one of us is twisting your words, and I don't think it's me. I am virtually positive that's exactly what you said, but it sounds like we've got a topic for next week. Just to finish out my point, the second person who agreed that there's been some coaching problems, at least as far as motivation is concerned, is Ann Killian, who writes for the San Francisco Chronicle. She had a whole article about it. I won't read all of it now. Last piece of housekeeping, one last piece, honestly, of Uber news. If you've never used the app before, we've got a gift for you. Go ahead and download it, which is free. Go to the promotion section, also free, and enter in the promo code Huddle, Huddle. What that'll give you is $20 free to ride anywhere you want. This is not one of those shady things where we are trying to get your credit card and send you emails or other BS. This is legit. It's a free $20 ride. If you have 5 friends, for example, and you guys want to go out, you can split rides. That's $100 to go wherever you want. Use this. There is no reason not to, and consider it a thank you. Huge fun, you guys. We really appreciate it. Let me offer you a quote before I give you the final closing. Continuing our Charles Barkley theme, we go back to an instance in which Ernie Johnson first said this to Charles, quote, Auburn is a pretty good school. To graduate from there, I suppose you really need to work hard and put forth maximum effort. To which Charles responded, 20 points and 10 rebounds will get you a degree there also. Love it, you guys. Hopefully we'll see you next week. Please remember, we can be found on Twitter at Warriors Huddle. Our email is warriorshuddle@gmail.com. You can find us on warriorsworld.net, and we're on iTunes, where if you wouldn't mind hopping on there, subscribe to us and rate us. It'd really help us out. Thanks a lot, you guys. We'll see you soon.
Good.